To you from the beautiful multiverse. And I apologize for being late, but we had some technical difficulties. And if you'll bear with me, I'm going to check and see if we're still having technical difficulties. Um, and the technical difficulties is my not. Oh, there we are. So we're fine now. So I apologize. I thought I had gone live at 1, and here we are at 1:15. Thank you, Reverend Mary, for helping me to fix that. And I have no idea what went wrong the first time. So I'm going to kind of pick up where I was going to start today, and we'll continue this subject tomorrow. But I had what I think are some very interesting things to talk about. Hopefully you'll agree they're interesting. I suppose we'll find out. Um, Last week, Lady Lori and I went to Atlanta where we retrieved a number of things that had been stored on my behalf. And you will notice that my camera is reversed in orientation from how I normally have it. And you'll understand why in just a moment. It's directly related to some of the things we brought back. And in coming weeks, I'll be sharing a lot of what we brought back. But today I wanted to focus on my morgue of old publications. Most of my art morgue has been here in Jacksonville, but the publication morgue was there in Atlanta being cared for by Sacred Sea, for which I thank them. They were very kind to hold on to these things for me, um, especially for a very long time. And we brought back 6 folders like this, which include the old publication morgue. And I've talked about my years in the Pagan Press and what the Pagan Press was. Back in the 1980s and the 1990s, I was very involved in print magazines in the pagan community. And of course, they go back farther than that, but I became involved in the 1980s. I, um, I, pu- I edited the Wheel of Hecate magazine, which is the main thing I'm going to be sharing with you today. And I did artwork or writing for as many as 90 others over the course of a number of years. And at this time, the Pagan Press was a very vibrant enterprise. There were all kinds of magazines, all kinds of, um, of writers and artists and columnists producing a vast array of content, which today you would expect to see on the internet. But at that time, this is how we shared information in the community. Even more interesting from my point of view are those magazines that included a news section. If you want to know what was happening in the pagan community in those years, that's where you can go and find it. Except the thing is, hardly any of this can be found today. I'm very proud to have kept this record of those years. And because we are late in starting today, I'm only going to be able to share so much within our allotted time, but tomorrow I'm going to come back to this subject and share much more. Um, because I think it's something that should be of interest to people. And if you're watching, please join us in with comments, and I will be happy to address anything that you would like to ask or speak to. And so I mentioned the Wheel of Hecate, and here today I have in front of me issue number 2 of the Wheel of Hecate. And what I'm going to do, this has been taken apart into individual pages, and this was the cover of issue number 2. The woman on the cover is my late wife, the mother of my son John. Her name was Winter Wren, and you can see that I've shown her reading tarot cards, which is what she did. And this cover is hand-drawn, of course, and you'll notice the lettering is done by hand, as much of the lettering in the magazine was, and that has to do with the time. And I was trying to give it a bohemian look, I guess, with the kinds of lettering that I was doing. And again, this is number 2. You can't really see, but it's actually blue. Each cover had color. This is the copyright page. Cost $4 per issue in 1987. And this issue was summer of 1987. And that was a long time ago. And one of the things that you'll notice with the pieces that I share with you is that some of this artwork, if you follow my artwork, will be familiar to you. We've used it many times. This page, the very first page of issue number 2, you'll recognize the image um, from the super omnibus of magical incantations and invocations for all occasions, if nowhere else, but we've used it in many places over the years. On the other hand, if we turn the page over, you'll see some of the contributors, and you probably will never have seen any of this artwork. Um, Up here at the top is me. Um, as I looked at the time, no gray hair. My late wife, and my mother, who was then writing under the pseudonym of Elizabeth Greenwood. And of course, my mother was much older than this picture shows her at the time. But if you have looked at photos of her as a young woman, it is a decent likeness. And she was not at that time willing to write under her given name. She did change that before her death, but she mostly was known as Elizabeth Greenwood during her lifetime. And because she had already established that name, she did not much depart from it. The poem on this page is called A Pagan's Chants, and it's by Donna Lyon-Rose, who is my favorite pagan poet. And I thought I would read it for you. And it is kind of emblematic of some of the character of the publications of that time, in that it's very much asserting, I guess I'd say, the right to be pagan. This was a time when the new right was pushing forward right-wing Christianity, which of course has pushed forward far stronger since. But you'll find that a very strong theme in some of the magazines of the day. But here is A Pagan's Chants by Donna Lyon-Rose. I rest my case with Mother Sea, and ask my due of objectivity, when they claim there's something wrong with me, as my faith is not Christianity. For I'd rather worship 'neath the moon, to dance to the starlit eldritch tune, casting for wishes by the ancient rune, asking my lady for some long-sought boon. I shall not bow to a death-struck religion that denies my thoughts and personal decisions, whose only reward is a dull, stark heaven, promising a sun though the dark is sent in. And this time I shall not be cast aside, nor accept the stake though I shall not hide. I shall give the sword to turn the tide, for I'll not forsake the mother's pride. And I shall venerate the sky and earth, through my song and dance and joyous mirth, around the warmth of the mother's hearth, heralding the ageless goddess rebirth. And that is A Pagan's Chants by Donna Lyon-Rose. And Donna Lyon-Rose, as I said, was my favorite poet of the era. She is now in spirit. I don't know where you would access her poetry today, but I was very fond of it. Um, Here are a few more of the contributors to the magazine at the time, including Paul Bayerl, Judith Rose, Megan Sebastian, Lady Bitterwind, Lady Crystal. It was a long time ago. So I wanted to share with you some of the artwork again. This was an illustration for the Summer of Love, and we were looking at that year as being, or the coming year, 1988, as being a replay of the Summer of Love. And in some ways, 1988 did prove to be a very pivotal year. For one thing, it was the year that the crystal web was created. It was the year of the beginning of the harmonic convergences, at least as far as many people were concerned. And that really did have a profound effect. Another illustration that you may not have seen. And on the back is an article by Lady Bitterwind, Reality, Unreality, in which she talks about the nature and power of dreams. I don't need to tell you what you can get in your dreams. It's anything and everything your mind can conceive without the restrictions of reality. And it had this illustration to accompany it. And Lady Bitterwind wrote many very interesting articles on the nature of reality, the nature of being. Here's another poem that I will share with you called Dawn by Winter Wren. Quiet, so quiet, dawn breaking on the horizon, waiting, arms raised in greeting, opening myself to the spirits, those who wish to reach me, feet resting softly on Mother Earth, taking her energy in, feeling her warmth and strength as she gives it to me, her child, blessing me with life. And this is the kind of thing that we published. Um, this is an article called Wind on the Earth about Quetzalcoatl, the Aztec deity. It has a number of illustrations, some of which we've used in other places, some of which not. Here is Lady Bitterwind's continuing piece called Dirty Tricks Incorporated, in which she wrote about how she felt the world worked, and in particular, how she felt the government worked. We'll come back to that. Here is Paul Bayerl's regular column in the Wheel of Hecate called Soap and Stuff. And here is an illustration that accompanied it. And it just is a very nostalgic thing for me. This is an illustration accompanying an article called A Temple to the Goddess. And there are several architectural illustrations in here illustrating what a temple might look like. And this is what I did when I was a young man. This is an article by Donna Lyon-Rose called 5 Basic Principles, in which she talks about energy work, illustration of the cone of power. This issue featured an article on Elagabalus, the Emperor of Rome, who was a Universalist, and this is a portrait of that emperor. It talked about how he attempted to show the relationship between all deities. If you're familiar with history, you'll know he was not especially successful in certain ways, meaning he was assassinated rather quickly. But it was nonetheless a very important moment. Now, here at the end, we have the ad section. And here we see an ad for seasonal silver, which was done by Donna Lyon-Rose. We see an ad for the Wild Magic Bulletin. If we turn it over, we'll see the Rowan Tree Church and the 5 Mystic Secrets of the Great Pagan Masters, about which more to come soon. Even after all these years, Stardust Salamander, who gave me an award for excellence in pagan journalism in 1986, and the Crone Papers by my very good friend, whose name I know like the back of my hand. But anyway, the Crone Papers. Magic Word Communications. And many different magazines of that era. And then here from issue number 4, The Magic of Geodes by Merlin the Enchanter. And Merlin the Enchanter, if you're not familiar with him, was L. Edward Lawrence, who was the proprietor of the Lawrence Museum of Magic and Witchcraft and the editor of the Grave Robbers Gazette. And I want to say hello to Lilith in the chat room. It's good to see you. Here we have a forum on politics, and you'll see this lovely tarot card here in the corner. And these were a set of tarot cards by Frater Mercurius, who was a friend of mine, who, among other things, um, also was one of the people illustrating Buckland's Big Blue. Here's an article called Emerald Cut and Dyeing, which spoke about the damage to the environment, and it's by a man named Mark Harris, who's a very interesting figure. I don't know if I have too much to say about him at this moment, but he was an interesting figure. Dirty Tricks Incorporated by Lady Bitter Wind, who was protesting the fact that this issue was a bit late. It was ostensibly the fall issue, but it published in winter. And this is her illustration of government. And Lady Bitterwind had the point of view that governments and nations were living things. And this whole article is about that, why she felt they were alive and demonstrating how they were alive. Of course, we might also describe them as egregores. And Elizabeth in the chat room, hi Elizabeth, mentions that in the Netherlands, Buckland's Big Blue was brown. I didn't know that. Here is an article by Lady Artanis of Elven Door, an article by Bill Hines on the decline and fall of the American political system. Oh boy, if you can see things today versus the 1980s, I think this would be, makes this kind of nostalgic. And Bill Hines was a prominent writer of that day. A novel by, or an article by Rowena Knight. The Haiti Project, From Pagans for Peace, which was to aid people in Haiti following traditional African religion after a problem. I believe it was after the revolution. It's been over 30 years, and I'm not really reading. I'm going through. The Tao of Wicca by Paul Barrow. A Litany for Meditation on the Tarot Trumps by Frater Mercurius. And here is another one of his tarot cards. And I will read only the one for the Fool, because we are at nearly the end of our time. And Elizabeth says she has one of Buckland's books on her shelves, or the Buckland's, what we would call Big Blue. I guess they would call it Big Brown. So for the Fool, great goddess, you are the celestial guardian of the dancing jester and a beacon shining on his path of deepest night. Queen of heaven, inspire us. And it goes through all of the major arcana in this form of a litany. And it's quite a lovely piece. I would love to hear from Frater Mercurius. I believe he is still alive, which is not true for a lot of these people. Because, you know, this was 35 years ago, and they weren't necessarily all as young as I was. Here is the review section, and it's reviewing Mara's Incense and Oils. I think the last thing I will leave you with is, again, look at the ad section, and we've got here Harvest, which was a very prominent magazine of that time. The Grave Robbers Gazette. The little ad says, "Big bucks are not needed to subscribe to the Grave Robbers Gazette." The Rowan Tree Church. We've got Of a Like Mind, Golden Isis, which was a publication by Jarena Dunwich, the Beltane Papers, Weird, a quarterly journal of magic and witchcraft, Wodenwood out of Minneapolis, Stardust Salamander, We've got Shadow Play, the Palace Society News, Our Lady of Enchantment. We've got an ad for the Abyss. And down here, free service to pagan starchild witch. Need help, need guidance. Have a problem you're aching for someone to hear, or just wish to chat. Silver Raven answers your call. Be it big, be it small, the wings of the raven spread for all. And this is Silver Raven out of Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania, who did some artwork for the Wheel of Hecate, and today is known as Silver Raven Wolf, a very much published author. At that time, Silver Raven Wolf was still either Silver Raven or Raven Wolf, depending on the capacity in which you were speaking with her. And I've been asked to read the personals. There is a personal section, and there's only one in this particular piece, but I will go ahead and read it to you, everything but the identity, which would be inappropriate. But I'm a 37-year-old writer and musical composer from Colorado. I speak several languages and play several musical instruments. I practice Hatha yoga. I'm an animal rights activist. I am presently incarcerated at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in Chicago. And that's enough for that ad. Some of our issues did have more personals, but I wanted to share some of these things with you to give you a little bit of a look at a world which in some ways is vanished from our present one. And tomorrow I will share with you some more pieces, not necessarily from the Wheel of Hecate, but Mary says, I knew it would be good. And it was. Tomorrow I will share with you some other pieces from some other magazines to show you some of the diversity that existed in that world. And as I say, I think I said, it may have been the first time when I thought I was live streaming and was not. I'm also going to be uploading some of these things to my Patreon page. And if you have not seen my Patreon, you can find it at revdonlewis.com. I'm still setting it up. It's only just getting started, but it is moving. And this week we will have some posts about these publications and this historical documentation. If you want to see some of the artwork in a different context, it's in Rev Don's Super Omnibus, which you can find at CorellianPublishing.com. And with that, I'm going to offer a prayer. And thank you all for joining me. Tomorrow I will be back at 1 o'clock, as I should have been. Today, welcome to the Dusty Dud. We will have our full half hour. Again, today I was unfortunately plagued by some technical difficulties owing to the fact that I don't usually do the engineering myself. And I want to thank Reverend Mary Hawk for helping me to correct those difficulties. And I hope that you've enjoyed the show. Divine Mother Goddess, Divine Father God, beloved ancestors, we ask you to help us, to guide us, and to call to our mind the good things in life that we have lived and that enrich us. All things in life can bring us good things, even those things which appear to be bad, if we know where to look. For it is those things that teach us and that enrich us, that help us to go forward, to learn from our past and to have a better future. We pray that you will help us to discern those good things as we go forward. Beloved Mother Goddess, beloved Father God, beloved ancestors, with love and with respect, we thank you. May you be blessed now and always. May you be blessed now and always. Until next time.